All right, let's go ahead and take another trip here back into the fog. We're going to be back on Wrecker's Yard here to start things off in our second matchup. Going to be seeing Nightfall out here trying to take the first trip, try and see if you can put yourselves a little bit of pressure down. Going to use this hill to try and see if you can find yourself at least the first survivor. Interesting to see if, I'm almost wondering if maybe our survivors are kind of, going with the throwback tactic. Oh, I was going to say, wait, now Corrupt, not going to be the case here, though. We do see Adam getting found first. And Dyer, if we know anything about our Adams that we've seen thus far, maybe not exactly the survivor you want to be taking chase with first.
And that's going to be... Adams are very, very criminal today, as the community would say. That's an absolute... dangerous character for today. Hein, though, taking the injury, managed to drop the pallet, but he's staying into this one. Are they setting up for a pallet save? That's the question. He might be a little bit out of the reach for it, but not going for an attempt anyway. So BLT Nightfall here with a very, very quick down. That's going to work out very, very beautifully. No generator yet for sure. Wrecker's Yard, also not the largest map, so good for a Spirit here to catch up and kind of gain the control back. Not checking on this side where we have a lot of progress yet, just a few percentages that are now completely removed due to the pop goes the weasel.
And now we got to see here, you talk about that early down, put some pressure here as far as trying to figure out what we've got going on. The rest of the side here, we saw a quick check. Didn't look like we had much progress, unfortunately, there, which also comes in turn with that very early down. And I just realized, and I hate that if you might have pointed this out, Thrilling Tremors?
Yeah.
Bringing that in? Like
the good old info perk from picking up an interesting choice. Yeah, paired with the pop goes to weasel, I guess it makes a little bit of sense, but it's definitely a perk we don't see too often. So interesting one right here. Hein is being camped out into the second stage. Very understandable for me after getting the first down that quickly into the trial.
Yeah, there's really, it basically you give yourself the free second stage is very, very much the reward for the early down, right? Because that's only going to be the first generator there. I don't think that we're going to be seeing multiple gens popping in succession. We hear that this generator's got a little bit of progress to it, but nothing you're worried about just quite yet, especially when you got to unhook going on across the way. If you can get a tunnel out here quick, Dyer, that would be huge, and that's the Adam you found.
That's exactly the survivor you were looking for. Hein in a very, very difficult spot now. The team needs to do something, either trying to throw themselves in, which is more than difficult against the Spirit, or having anything prepared like a pallet save, wasting any time that they can. But Hein going down in the open, maybe a flashlight save coming out here. That would be the last chance, but even that is not the case.
And he slaps him with the D.
This D is so important, but with the change down to 3 seconds with a firecracker coming out. This was insane. This is how you save a team member, and if it's only a few additional seconds here to crank through the generators, that is so well played from the team. But the grab coming out onto Hein, nice read by Nightfall. Second gen coming out, but cutting it down to a 3 versus 1.
And you only got, I was gonna say, got a second gen. You did get a third out of it though, so doing just enough to be able to buy the third gen. And also I want to see as Nightfall looks around, I do believe, yeah, looks like our survivors have done a fantastic job as far as you see the gen spread here, Dyer. I think they might still be in a position to try and get some stages out the door.
Yeah, absolute great gameplay now from the survivors as well. These little seconds, they can change so much, right? Also, I have to say, Q, I'm still confused about the fact that we now have red add-ons, ultra rare add-ons on the medkit. That still confuses me. It makes so much sense because of the changes medkits receive, but it feels so wrong because for so long we played with brown medkits only. So every time I see that, I'm like, that's a balance offense, restart. But it's how we play it right here. We are going into the corner, comp corner, how the community would call it, trying to waste as much time as possible. Unfortunately for Urushi, the hook is quite close to the truck here, so that's only a couple of seconds. And with the next information coming from Thrilling and paired with the pop goes the weasel, that might not be a fourth generator for now.
And especially if there's not much pressure and you can get the right guess on these generators, because you get not only the pop, but if you can follow that pop up with a very quick down and get the additional little aura reading if anyone's followed up on that gen with the eruption, right? You can kind of continue to snowball the pressure down. Instead, looks like Life is going to indeed be Life to be able to get the unhook in, but with the slug there, easy decision to go for the tunnel here, right, Dyer? Go ahead and follow. Hopefully you don't have to count more than just the 7 seconds. I'm kind of surprised you don't go for a grab with the window, to be quite honest, but now with the time here, easy decision to go for the down and the tunnel out, but get stunned, stupid.
This might be one of the new pallets the player was not expecting here, because they are actually giving the players a lot more material to work with. You're not expecting these pallets here on the outside of the Wrecker's Yard, yet they are such a nice addition to the gameplay. We do see Urushi now being picked up, Wind and Lincoln going for the rescue in the distance, potentially going for a reset as well. Need to choose a good location for it though, because Nightfall will just take the mobility and try to catch them again. Has to apply a pop kick as well. Heal coming through, they are very efficient on that one, but we have another survivor dying in 50 seconds from now. We have 2 more generators to go for, so it's more and more against the odds to take the outs here.
And now the question becomes, I was gonna say, can he at least stealth the way and put a little bit of doubt in the back of Nightfall's head? But instead, Nightfall able to find themselves a survivor relatively quick, able to get the down here as well, and with an easy decision to go for the pickup. The question becomes, where do you take this fresh hook survivor? I would take them to the basement personally, but you can understand why they don't want to take the additional time. You love the ability to be able to just quickly put them up on a hook here and monitor the gens, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a difficult decision, right? Time or control over the map, and in this case, when Nightfall is able to get the stages quickly in back to back, I do feel like he can hook in the open, because his chasing also here is very on point. He's reading the survivors correctly, he's getting the grabs. He got stunned 1 time, I believe, from a pallet so far, so he's very, very good in these mind games as well, and as long as that is confidently turning out for him in a good way, then he has no reason to fear anything. So just going dominant over the Wrecker's Yard, trying to catch the next one right here. That is our win now once again, going towards the outside of the Wrecker's Yard, not really able to make it that far, so a quick hook coming in, eruption kicking in, you have a pop kick again, so Nightfall just putting the survivors on such a run. I feel like they don't even have the time to repair any gens.
Yeah, I mean, really Nightfall right now just putting on a clinic of just being able to spread the pressure here, and now it's going to be another survivor that's going to be at the risk of being removed from the trial. Right now, you would really like to find the ace. That's your remaining fresh hook survivor. Reaps the most rewards for you. You see, though, across the way, going to see the unhook. You also hear this generator right next to us. That thing's got a whole bunch of progress on it, but that's the survivor you wanted. You'll be able to get the pop here onto this. You get yourself an additional hook and another pop kick to put wherever you please, Dyer.
Yeah, this is the big thing, right? These pop kicks, when you get such repetitive stages, these pop kicks are... How many gens did they repair now? 7, 8 at this point, probably, because every time there's a quarter just leaving the trial. Lincoln now the fresh hook. That is good news for our survivor team. 2 minutes of hang time, a little bit what you need, but at the same time the other survivors facing death. Urushi and Wind, whoever is found next, will be eliminated. We don't see any progress on the generators. We are stuck on 2 remaining gens for a long time now. We just heard the sound effect. That was full points for the facing here, because Nightfall is doing such a good job as well. So very, very exciting to see what Nightfall is pulling up here. Lincoln might go into second stage if Nightfall decides to go back very soon, but it seems like he doesn't really worry too much about the deliverance that is now coming through, because he's just going for the next one, and this is actually the survivor you can remove now.
Yeah, and you know, I gotta say, even with the fact that the survivors did a pretty decent job early on with the pressure on the gens, even with the actual spread, I like seeing the composure from Nightfall, just really playing the game down to a T, even though you're going to get plus 10 wood added to your forehead here, quickly going back for what's most important, and that's going to be trying to see if you can catch a survivor out of position, and I think we might have found, is that our injured survivor? Oh, that's nice. Another pallet, though, not like this.
Lincoln, that was a very, very clean pallet use there, though, not throwing it too early, staying patient, hearing that the spirit is coming up, but expecting the double back. Really, really wonderful play here by Lincoln, unfortunately going down right here, Eruption kicking in another time, but we do see a reset. So Paradox with the back to the wall, but still taking what's necessary to stay safe, to stay calm and collected. And that's impressive to me, still with 3 survivors preventing the tunnel out.
Yeah, I mean, right now the big thing is you need to try and see if you can give yourself one more generator, right? On the survivor side, give yourself to where your killer can at least play around a 3-gen. I mean, I feel like otherwise you don't. Man, only getting 3 gens done on the survivor side, that's a tough condition to have to like set the pace with, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's still very, very rough. And I feel like we often talk about win condition, right? You really want the 4th generator completed, so the other team has to complete all 5, because that at least gives your killer the chance to play around a 3-gen. Right now, the win condition would be that the other team is able to ignore a 3-gen next trial, and that's not really a calming vision for the future.
Especially on a smaller map like Wreckers, where you can really just load in there and you can just start banging out some gens. But we do see they're going to allow the sacrifice here onto a 2nd survivor. So now going to be going in the 2v1. The question is, how stealthy can you play? Can you give yourself just enough time to be able to finish a 4th gen? Because Dyer, it feels like when we've been looking in on these survivors, I don't think we've got any gen that has like a 3rd piston really much further like moving than that one that we just kicked, and it's not really that much further than like what, 60%?
Yeah, I mean, with 10 stages, we remove 250% of progress, so 2.5 gens. That's just brutal, especially with 2 survivors. Even the 3 we won is very, very difficult facing these perks. And the thing is, right, you need to earn the value of these perks. You need the hook to activate Pop Goes the Weasel. You need to control the generators for Eruption. And Nightfall, yeah, it's always great to see that. But Nightfall really earned that. He was able to put so much pressure on them, get the hook stages in so quickly. So he really, really earned the value of these perks. But it's crazy to see if you have a killer that is playing well and earns this value, how dominant he can be.
It's such a it's the risk reward, right? Because if you don't get those couple of early downs, and then all of a sudden you're at a point where you're only relying on just the one slowdown, which was the corrupt, then you're in quite a bit of trouble. So it is one of those where you love to see a player able to come in with a game plan and really be able to deliver on it. I mean, until we've gotten to this point here where it's the kind of the standoff and almost, you know, the survivors really embracing the horror aspect of the game, right? They're really kind of playing scared. Otherwise, the chases have been quick. Finding the survivors have been really quick. It feels like we haven't been in this trial for very long, and we're about to be down to our last survivor.
And that's now Wind going down, so we will have Rushi as the last standing survivor. You just mentioned it, can go for the hatch. I doubt that's going to work out. So we will see an end game about the exit gates. Good news, there's no way out, so no protection towards the end game. That's also a price you pay when you are bringing a perk combination aggressively towards the generators like Eruption and Pop Goes the Weasel. So there might be Paradox pulling something last second here.
I was trying to see where these doors are, because they are almost opposite sides. They're not terrible. You gotta question as far as where the first guess is, because if you can play the... Oh, no, that's a pretty good line of sight that you got on both doors there. Big rips.
I was thinking for a second if the tractor is blocking line of sight, so that maybe... But unfortunately, there's a little gap here next to the wheel, so... That's rough for our survivor, and yeah, they realized probably the killer now in a very, very good spot. So I think he spotted him right here behind this rock. Yeah, that's going to be the case. So final chase starting. Urushi could try to go down by the end game collapse timer instead of the killer. That's always a little bit of dominance in the end game, but it's a wonderful 4K. It's a wonderful 4K with 2 generators still standing. So the good news is you can literally ignore a 3-gen next trial.
Yeah, I mean, talk about coming out here, and I think you had said that this was Luminescence pick, right? So to be able to come out here on your pick and set the tone like this, you don't even let a 4th gen get complete. You have so much control from the word go as well, and I mean, the 4K before a 4th pops is impressive.
It's really impressive, yeah, because as powerful Spirit is, as difficult she still is when you are facing a very efficient Survivor team. It's not a guaranteed 4K at all, so absolutely impressive what they've put up here. Luminescence in an absolute perfect position. So Q, how do you try to approach this second trial now after starting off like this?
And I mean, I feel like you have to probably just duplicate what you just saw, right? Like I don't think you try and come in with any tricks up your sleeve. I just think you come in with, you know, something like the pop eruption, where if you can be aggressive, get those very early downs, you have to mimic what you just saw, because I can't think of anything else that you do that like throws the survivors off enough, other than just coming in and, you know, praying to RNGs that you get yourself an early down. I think you have to at least set yourself up enough where you can get the snowball, which is pretty much with the build that we just saw.
Yeah, I have to agree, and it's so important to show your dominance right from the early game, right? You need to get the foot down, you need to get the pressure down, and then see if you can keep this dynamic up. Let's find out, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for you with trial number 2 after a short break. It is going to be a difficult challenge for the killer of Paradox, and an even easier one for the survivors of Luminescence. Great waiting there, trying to catch the moving grass, but unfortunately missing this one. We do have a win condition of just repairing 4 generators, which means that you can ignore any type of 3-gen and any difficult setup here. So our killer from Paradox, Urushi, needs to get the downs immediately and get a good grasp of the game in the early seconds of this trial. And Q, it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
No, we even see playing mind games around the pallet, lost the survivor, and now there's so much distance built here early. You were looking to try and get yourself a little bit of momentum, now not going to be able to do so. And now at this point, you're going to have to hope to try and catch somebody out of position within the actual generators themselves, because now if you find someone mid-map like this, all they're going to do is hold W, maybe slap you around with a little bit of wood, but then they're going to head back over towards the corrupted generators, which just pulls you away from your defenses.
Now we do see the phase walk coming out once again. You mentioned it, the distance is rough, especially when you lose the survivor. Now Delusion is going to be the next one in chase, but our killer going to try cut him off. That's going to work, but the Shack, a difficult tile to move around. Just dropping Shack pallet is a very good decision here. You want to take it as safe and confident as possible. That's going to work out. A lot of time is already ticking down. Almost 2 minutes now until the first down, and Delusion still not going down. A survivor lurking nearby as well. So I would expect 2 generators to come out of here.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we'll probably see one here shortly. We do got to remember that that timer is now 90 seconds, right? On the corrupt intervention versus the 2 minutes. So not as long into the trial, but we are getting relatively close. But since we're at over 90 seconds, and Dyer, the fact that we haven't seen 1-gen leads me to believe that they aren't even worried about being paired up on any of them. That amount of pressure that we just saw on 1 generator, expect somewhere around that on 2, maybe even 3 gens. Oh, they were looking for the pallet save, just was on the wrong side here, unfortunately, too. Tough.
And now we do have the first hook stage in exchange for a generator, though. And once again, as a reminder, the win condition is just 4 gens completed, and we do see 3 gens far away from the hooked survivor. So absolutely beautiful setup and win condition for our survivor team Luminescence after a very, very strong first game. We do see Pop Goes to Weasel coming in. Sloppy Butcher not really coming in clutch yet, Q, because I do see the idea. You want to take the value out of the longer healing time and you want to build up the pressure, but unfortunately Urushi not able to spread this pressure yet.
Yeah, especially because now you're kind of stuck in a situation of, do I spread my Sloppy Butcher value or do I go for the tunnel out, right? Which just means you're only getting value of, well, maybe potentially the pop if you're able to get yourself to down here. But you can see good mind games at the pallet here by Delusion, able to make sure that this chase really getting good value for the rest of the team. We know that that 1 generator that was back at the Pride Rock earlier had a decent amount of progress. There's going to be potentially some eruption value off of it, but even with the players, if they're over there, they should say, oh, but actually you slapped him with the D, which means you're gonna prolong the shape that much longer. And now we should probably see at least 2 more gens pop, right, Dyer?
Yeah, Q, I feel like this is your day. We have so many
I love it.
D-slaps today. You have returned, like, we haven't had this many D-slaps in the entire Season 8 and Winter Circuit together. And now you're coming back, and the teams are slapping each other left and right with the decisive strike. It's
Big
crazy
shout out to the
see that.
homies for knowing I'm back. Appreciate y'all.
They did it just for you. But yeah, 3rd generator now completed. You mentioned it. Just 1 more to go, and you're sitting on 2 hook stages. The pressure, and even realizing that the Survivor team is on your tail. So this is so rough now. We basically need, I don't know, more than a 180 turn.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that at least might work in your favor is there's a survivor somewhere nearby that tried to drop that pallet, right? But unfortunately, you haven't been able to identify the location just quite yet. There's some scratch marks, finding yourself the first survivor. That's going to be YoCat there. And then, unfortunately, with YoCat just going to hold Shift W the opposite way, you're stuck going the take that. Unfortunately, especially now with the extra delay, now you don't get to apply the pop either, Dyer.
Yeah, this is rough, right? Because this value, the 25%, would be something you're really trying to look for. So you do get another injury right here. Sloppy Butcher coming a little bit into clutch. You have the ace as well. So that is, I feel like this moment right now is what he was trying to achieve from the start of the game when we were looking into spreading the injuries with the Sloppy Butcher.
This is going to be so tough here now. In what situation do you put yourself in here? If you're playing the Spirit, you can't really continue to take chase. You are now at the situation where you need to go on a little bit of a slugfest here if things are going to finish out. And, oh, man, I mean, the survivors here for Luminescence just coming out really from the word go, able to seize control. And I think that they're going to not only get this 5th gen done here, Dyer, I think we're talking about multiple stages that are going to be going out the door as well.
Yeah, I feel like as well. And this is rough though, right? Because Paradox is going to play Killer straight again on the Hillbilly. We talked about how much pressure you have at the Hillbilly anyway, just from how he's designed and how weak he can be. So going into the second, oh, that was a close one. Going into set number 2, after facing a dominant survivor performance like this, is going to be so rough.
Now here you gotta try and at least maybe be able to build up something. I thought was maybe gonna go for the slug just to see if you can maybe take a little bit of wind out of the sails. Not going to be the case. You are gonna be able to get this hook right next to this generator, and this thing's knocking like a 4 in the middle of the winter, just about ready to go. But with that pop goes the weasel. Gonna take 25% right off the top here. And I was gonna say the question is where are they at on the other gens? That's gonna come across, and now you've also got the broken status, probably going to just be able to just allow the I mean, what do you think? 3, 2, at least 3 out here, right?
Absolutely, 3 out, yeah. The Deliverance even slapping you now as well, right there, as if it wouldn't be tough enough already to face this Survivor team. Delusion, healthy, will probably make it towards the exit gate in time. Q, that looks like a 4 out. That is horrible.
This is tough here. I mean, at least it does look like, I mean, taking it somewhat lightly here, right? Just gonna go ahead and stop and break the pallet there. But man, from the side of Luminescence, just to be able to really turn it up there, you gotta feel for the killer a little bit. I mean, you get hit with both second chance perks, right? You get the decisive and the deliverance, and then it's the 4 out. You've got to make sure you've got a very bad short-term memory if you're gonna be the same killer coming in on set number 2 on the Hillbilly.
I'm so excited for the Hillbilly though. Hillbilly, that's a new one. I always said Hillybilly, and now I said Hillbilly. So he has a lot of names. I'm so excited for it. For the killer itself, for the mechanics. I love seeing how the people are working with him. But I feel like for Paradox right now, that's really brutal. I hope that Urushi isn't the person that has to take responsibility, because I feel like he needs a little bit of a break, breathing through. You just got 4 outed. If it's Urushi again, then you need to take such a support from your team. So Paradox facing a difficult situation here, 47 to 14. That's a rough score. That's just
yeah, I mean, that's just a complete dominance. And you had talked about, you know, gonna have to go right back out here on the killer side. Luckily, this is your pick, so maybe, you know, you got a trick or two up your sleeve here, but you are going to have to come out here and set number 2 and set that tone if you want to avoid the sweep. So we're going to have to see if they're going to be able to do just that here right after a quick break. All right, let's go ahead and take another trip here back into the fog for, I think, almost everyone, one of everyone's favorites anyways, the Hillbilly. We're going to be on the gas heaven. Does look like we've been able to find ourselves a survivor up here at main relatively quickly, and thanks to the fact that we already opened up this main building, able to kind of start this chase quicker. It is a stronger tile though, and you feel like if you're not able to force one of these pallets down relatively quickly, you need to be able to get it down. We do see at least the first pallet going down inside the garage here, and I think I like this play. Dyer tries to go for the low pro play and gets it.
That was a very, very good one. Low pro chains, so dangerous. We do see the pallet drop right here, trying to extend the loop as early as possible. We are going around once again. I'm not entirely sure if he will make that. Yeah, he's holding W away now, using this tree here to dodge the Billy, but next pallet is a little bit away. Local chains coming out, so you don't have the time to drop that. Very, very good to keep the pallet up. Now you have the resource to work with. That's actually going to be a very good chase now, considering how they started.
Yeah, it started off where it was looking a little risky here. The one thing that I am going to say, though, Dyer, I've got some concerns about some of these pallets that are going down now, because we're going to start creating a little bit of a dead zone here in the middle, starting to close in on that 90-second mark. We're sitting right around that 75-second marker right now, so unless anyone's doubled up on a gen, we're not going to be seeing the first one popping just quite yet. This is going to be a hook in the middle of the map, which does mean our Hillbilly here should be doing a little bit of house cleaning here as far as these pallets.
Yeah, that's the good thing, right? Because especially a Hillbilly, a weak killer, is taking so much profit from removing these resources towards the mid game or even the end game. So very, very good to set up the map like that. We do have the hill as well, the Hillbilly, really sticking up to his name here, and we do see one survivor behind us at the shack. That's a good information though, because that means one survivor right now is doing absolutely nothing, so that's a good confidence there for you. This survivor is rotating over, will probably be caught by the Billy, instantly going back, so this looks really good.
Oh, able to get there in time before the second stage. Going to go back into the main building here, where we do still have the one pallet, but since we don't have the window open on the backside, it is the doors on either side that we can play around here for our survivor squad. But that does mean our survivors also have to make sure that they're really digging into those gens across the way. There's a third gen getting complete. The question is, how close are we seeing to gen number 4? Because we are working around a pallet that I would say isn't exactly the safest. You can play around just a little bit, but now you're going to see, I was going to say, feathering that chainsaw a little bit. I like this chase, though, really bringing the juice, Dyer.
Absolutely, and these mid-game chases are the ones that are changing the entire game out. This is the second time I'm jinxing a player today who's serving the juice queue. Please take over.
No, I mean, it happens from time to time. A 4th gen getting complete. I was wondering if Claudette was going to try and be able to get there in time for the sabotage. Not going to be the case, and does mean that now got to figure out who's going to be able to come in for this save. With the 4th gen getting complete, though, you'll see that there's not really any sort of gen spread that our Hillbilly player can kind of really defend around, right? They've been able to do a good job of tackling into those middle gens, making sure they're leaving kind of the ones on the outskirts here. The one thing that would be nice if you can find yourself a fresh hook and get yourself one down and then find a third before the exit beats, but it's going to be tough.
Oh, very nice move by the ace here, trying to get back towards the mid of the map as quick as possible. Has to sacrifice a health state, but way better than going down, and now he's back in the mid section of the gas 7 here. Really smart use of the resources here. Hein was probably not expecting that, letting the ace get away with that. Very impressive. Now we do see that the firecracker is coming out, vaulting the shack here as well, trying to extend the chase when Boozle is coming in, but we still have the Shack Pallet. He will be dropped early enough as well. That's not going to be enough with the low pro chain. So we might see endgame before Delusion is going down here.
Yeah, especially because there's one more filler pallet that you can play around here, going to buy some additional time. The question is, when does that 5th gen get completed? There it is. As we talk about it, you and I see it, Dire. No one else is going to see it just quite yet, but there is that haste status. However, you are chasing an injured survivor, so unfortunately you don't really get too big a value from it. I've got a question from you. In this case, do you just try and find yourself one of these fully healthy survivors and get the hook stages versus the survivor that only rewards you one?
That's a difficult one, right? We have seen earlier how punishing it can be if you take too much risk. So I feel like getting any stage right now would be great. Obviously, you want to prefer the fresh out, but hello Feng, that might be a little bit too confident right here. Yeah, he's definitely making that. I feel like that's going to be the tag. The firecracker coming in, saving the day last second. Hello, what a team play here. That looked so much like keeping 2 survivors in, and they are saving it last second. What a brilliant MVP play.
What a beautiful firecracker there to be able to get out the door. And now you're having problems securing the slug. Are they potentially heading over towards the hatch? You do have to be concerned about that. Does look like that's going to be the direction that Heinz going to go as well, to at least wrap things up here. And I don't think Delusion would have had enough time to be able to get all the way out the door. So I think should be able to get found with somewhat ease here.
Yeah, this is... Wow, I'm still stuck with this.
The firecracker's play is amazing. Wow.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely beautiful. This is so great. And it's good for our killer to keep this hook stage in. Delusion going onto the hook here. Very important points, because we know that the Hillbilly is quite weak. So having the fresh hook here, 5 stages, is still a somewhat good result, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you feel decent about it, right? You probably would have preferred a little bit more. Almost got it there at the end. I think it's easy to kind of look at where we're at and go, hey, yeah, that would have been able to be nice to get those other stages at the end. I think it is a decent little qualifier benchmark. I still think you would have liked maybe an additional hook stage or 2, though, Dire.
I have to agree. Yeah. 6 is usually the golden border, you can say, right? When you move above the 6, like when this hook stage counter is filled more than half, it gives you a good feeling. And 5 is still rough. It's not a bad result, but it's still... You need to play a very perfect survivor game on your end.
Yeah, so we're going to have to see if they're going to be able to do just that. Because what was that? I mean, if you find yourself to the fresh hooks, that's the big point, right? If you can at least find those early, especially if you can get yourself an early down, would be the other big thing, because you did chase, the one player quite a bit there early. But, man, what an end game. That firecracker, Dire, still has me just absolutely mind blown.
It was insane. It was absolutely insane. This firecracker is something we're going to remember for a long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back for you with the 4th trial after a short break. Alright everyone, welcome back. We are here with a little bit of housekeeping. The player Delusion is suspended for the rest of the weekend. Might not come in clutch if they are finishing this right now, but for the tiebreaker he wouldn't be allowed to play. Why is that the case? Because Delusion disconnected at the end of the previous trial, and a few of you might say now, well, he was already in the sacrifice animation, it didn't change anything. But how do the rules work in DBDLeague? We are very strict on them, and we are always enforcing them to the very end, because if we would say, well, he was already in the sacrifice animation, the death would come through anyway, then we could also say, as soon as the killer is in the hooking animation, it can't be prevented anymore. Or we can say, when the killer picks him up, and there's no survivor in the trial anymore. You understand the logic. We would move forward and forward and forward in the game, allowing a disconnect to happen. Now, disconnects are not allowed due to our sportsmanship conduct. We want the players to play it out to the very end, and we are always strict with the rules. Even though it's sometimes painful and maybe sometimes annoying, that's what we are known for, and that's why we are, I can confidently say that, the most fair and most rule-orientated organization here. So we have enforced it. Delusion knows all about it. He took it as well with a very good attitude as well. So shout out for that. And our killer here just dancing a little bit on the cast. But yeah, Delusion suspended. Now let's get into the gameplay for this one. We do have a very good win condition. I believe something around 6 stages for our killer. So Luminescence on a grind here.
Yeah, I mean, this first chase really means a lot. Another nice firecracker here to be able to buy some early space. And knowing that you need to be able to limit the amount of hook stages, this first chase needs to be a juicer. And you've done a good job thus far. Haven't gone down during the 90 seconds of that corrupt intervention. And the fact that we haven't seen a single gen pops leads me to believe that we'll probably be seeing a couple of them popping within succession here. And another nice pallet to be able to play the mind games around. Got to be careful, of course, with the low pro, but adding plus 10 wood across the face here. Now going to be able to work their way back towards Shaq. And my goodness, Wind really serving the juice.
Absolutely. Wind is absolutely on the grind, and we have a lot of moments like that today. We have so many players that are taking responsibility for their team, stepping up, serving a long chase and turning the potential game outcome. I really, really love what the individual players are showing as performance today. Wind now in a more difficult spot. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to make it anywhere. No, that's going to be the first down, but Q in exchange for 3 gens.
Yeah, able to get 3 gens, and then also in return, able to kind of bury themselves back over into this corner of the map, right? So it is over a way that now we are going to see our Hillbilly has to force themselves into a little bit of a decision. Do I want to monitor some of these gens that are further away, or do I want to monitor the hook? And understanding what the win condition is, you would understand exactly why they don't really have the ability to camp, and that's going to put them under a lot of pressure. We see that the unhook comes in across the way. Now you have to be able to get this down. The good news is you take the chase over in this portion of the map where you already have a lot of the resources out of the way, able to get the low pro hit. But Dyer, I think that was intended actually, because you can see gets the speed boost to be able to get to some safety.
Yeah, players are so smart on the Hillbilly when it's about unzoning themselves, basically. Especially against low pros, sometimes they are just taking it voluntarily to get back into the midsection of the gas. Having very nice outside looping here as well. Even gets the stun out of it, the blind on top of it, wrist here. Pulling the most out of a very, very weak pallet. Insane to watch that as well. And makes it a very far, actually. We do see the next survivor being caught here on this TNL, our Claudette, once again, that just made the most out of that edge pallet. And the mind games winning as well. This is so incredible to watch. Well done, 4th gen.
I mean, just really playing a very, very strong survivor side game here, which is exactly what they needed to do to be able to come out here, set the tone. However, I do believe that should be a second fresh hook as far as for our killer here. And remember what, they only need to get 2 fresh hooks and then 1 more sacrifice. So if you could find either the Jake or the Ace, I believe that's your win condition as long as you can camp them out, right?
Yeah, I think so. With wrist here as the next fresh hook, yeah, that should be enough. That's the stages you need. So I would like to see what our Billy is doing, because we do already see him moving a little bit towards the generators. You want a little bit more than just the bare minimum. Luminescence wants to be very, very dominant here and very strong. We do see that MX is coming close, so Paradox already setting up for the unhook here. Our Billy finding a very good mix between checking the gens, putting a little bit of pressure and force on the serves, and guarding this hook stage. I would think after this confirmation, he will just go and try to find the next one.
Yeah, because now at this point, then you basically, I mean, even though I would have said you could have already went and found your second survivor, but this does now at least guarantee yourself a second stage number 3 altogether. You mentioned going and finding one, but now a 5th gen pops, and they're also going to be seeing the save coming in across the way here. The question is, Dyer, who got the save, right? Because if it was either the Jake or the Ace, especially because we do see that status symbol on the right side, that's going to be the haste status. That's going to be thanks to that no one escapes death, which they will now know about. And Ace is going into a portion of the map where there's not very many resources, Dyer.
and you need this ace. This is potentially the all-deciding chase. I'm not sure if they are on the totem just yet, even though it's revealed in the end game. It takes a little bit of time to get there and take it out of the trial. Bloodlust catching up as well now, but there's the totem, so you actually need to go for your chainsaw. That's going to come out now onto wrist. A little bit of winning here as well, but the ace would be the survivor you're looking for. That's going to be the down right here. Claudette picked up, so Paradox fighting against it, trying to take as many stages out of the trial as possible, but it does look like there's the flashlight shining in as well, just trying to achieve as much as possible. And please, we have seen it earlier, please don't get too greedy here.
Yes, I mean, but you can understand why you want to pull so far away. He should be good. He should be good there to get this hook. And now it's going to be a tall ask for the survivors, right? Because the survivors do have to get this their teammate off of the hook in order to walk away with the dub. Otherwise, it is going to be handing a second set over Luminescence, which means it's the end of the series, right? Am I saying that right?
Absolutely, yeah. Luminescence could just take it right here, so they have to go for it. And if it now fails and you get 4K'd, I think it doesn't matter anymore, because you have to pull this. You can either win this set. If you get 4K'd, the set point was lost, so you can't lose more than losing. So we have to see something crazy. We have to see a little bit of trading, but they need to do it soon, because MX is already halfway towards the second stage. So better now than never.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the move had to have been if you would have already been reset, right? I mean, now it's the one's off. But Wind has already been hooked once. I don't think it matters. I think because now that you've gotten the 3 fresh hooks, I don't even think the second slug would have mattered. I think you have now done enough here. You just need a sacrifice, and that is going to be this survivor here. With being the sacrifice, it means that you actually got yourself a bump. Oh no, the other player's off the ground. But yeah, that's your decision.
That's 5 now. We need to see what this would turn out, because if I'm not mistaken, was it 4 or 5 stages? Too fresh. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a big difference then. We do have 5 stages in the previous trial, so we need to make sure here that we have enough. Going to be, it's 3 fresh. Okay, yeah, that would be the deal here. Best of 3 taken by Luminescence, but Hein staying here as well, so Hein needs to serve the endgame juice.
1v1, one time for the one time. No, the hatch was right there though too. Oh, it was actually right inside the garage. If Hein would have been able to see it, I think instead might have just been a matter of respect, but now I'm going to be able to cut him off. Does find the hatch, and yeah, that's going to be the series there, Dyer. I mean, I gotta say, I would have loved to have seen this thing go 3, but it definitely feels like, as far as on the side of the, I mean, Luminescence just had control from the word go, you know?
Yeah, Luminescence was coming in here not ready for joking around. They were coming in confident and looking forward. Now they are leaving with 2 survivors out of the trial, so we do have a final score of 37-26 in favor of Luminescence. The 2-0, a very confident win from them. Congratulations to Luminescence, congratulations to Paradox as well for very, very fun games today. It was such a pleasure to watch. Q, a little bit of a recap here for Luminescence, now staying towards the top there, able to stick with the top teams. What do you expect from Luminescence for the remainder of Season 8?
So, I mean, realizing, as I started to realize more of these names, this is a team that's got some experience behind them, right? Even though maybe underneath this team name might be a little bit newer of a squad, I think it's a squad that, you know, shows some fight. I'm going to be intrigued to see, though, once they get up against, like, the big boys. Because we know when it comes to competitive DBD, it's one thing to kind of put yourself in that 4 to 6 range, right? When it comes to best in the world, which obviously when we talk about DBDLeague, this is the best of the best. But once you get to the top, it takes almost an extra step just to compete with them boys, let alone start taking them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's something you build up over time, right? When you have a season and you play everyone, and Luminescence is starting the grind here, starting the dynamic. So yeah, that's going to be A very interesting ride. Paradox has a little bit of pressure for week number 5, so we need to see how they are struggling back, but they have shown us very great fight today, so we have a lot of positive energy and mindset towards them.